How do we empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more?
It starts with one.
One employee.
One developer.
One organization.
From one employee to a team collaborating with another team.
From one organization to their customers, to their customers' customers.
Helping local communities, creating jobs.
Increasing productivity for the global economy.
Our society.
Our world.
That's the impact.
That's the impact.
That's the impact each of us can have.
That's our opportunity.
100,000 plus employees.
75 million organizations.
7 billion people on the planet.
100 to 75 to 7.
To make every small business more productive.
To make every large business more competitive.
To make nonprofits more effective.
To make government institutions more responsive.
To expand access to education.
To improve healthcare outcomes. And to amplify human ingenuity.
When we empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more, we empower the world.
We cater to more than 1 billion customers, 20 million businesses, and 90 plus markets globally. And this is again both in huge enterprises as well as in small and medium businesses. +1.2 billion users, that's almost equivalent to the population of India, using Office 365. We are the only cloud company in India.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Travel Coffee Chats. Welcome, Vijay from Microsoft. So Vijay, to give you a little intro before we go, this is just a little forum I created for a bunch of us to have conversations about the industry in general. So it's not an association per se, but the people from across the country on the call today. So specializing in handling travelers coming into the region. We have just found ourselves in a work from home situation, which for most of us is something very new. We are very used to the physical brick and mortar environment. And so in the conversation we had last week on human resources and how to manage our teams in the crisis, a question came up: how can we help our people work from home from an efficiency point of view, from a security point of view, from a data point of view? And that's when I had a conversation with Sunny, because Sunny has been helping me as a company work on many of these issues for the last few years. So thank you for Microsoft joining us. So, perfect. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. Again, this conversation started after a comment that was made on technology in the session we did last week. So I am delighted that we have Vijay from Microsoft and Manjula also from Microsoft, who will be with us today, and Sunny Sharma from Foetron, who many of you have met. I also brought him to an IATO session once to speak to us, but many of you have met individually. Sunny does provide me support in my company, and we've been doing it for the last 5 or 6 years with all Microsoft products that we are using quite extensively. So Vijay, I am going to start your slides right now, and then it's over to you.
So quick introduction about myself. I head the SMB business at Microsoft in India. My name is Vinayendra Jain. Welcome to all of you on this unique platform. I've moved on to my next slide, which is essentially the culture or the mission that we work with. At Microsoft, our mission is to empower every person and every organization on this planet to achieve more. And if we look at the times that we are in, this mission statement just becomes even more important, because a lot of you might have known Microsoft from the days of Bill Gates, and then there was a change in leadership, and now we have the third CEO. And this mission statement is truly a proud moment for everyone who's an Indian, because this is a mission statement that was carved for Microsoft when Satya became the CEO. And if you look at the depth of the mission statement, it is, for me, the objective of this call when Sunny reached out to me and said, hey, this is what Rajeev is doing, and we've got to make sure that we are able to collaborate with Rajeev and sort of land this message of how can we really help, people in India, for instance, as they are navigating through these tough times. And it's not just the time today. At any point in time, I think there are opportunities for all of us to figure what can we do better or more than what we were doing yesterday. I heard a beautiful quote, yesterday. I mean, there was an internal conversation that I was having with my team. And one of the things that I mentioned to my team was wisdom in the times of crisis is not in rushing or doing a lot of things. Wisdom in the time of crisis is truly about doing less and doing more in that less. So with that sort of, messaging, I'll come back in terms of the content again. Who do we represent from Microsoft? I think it's a fairly, well-known brand at this point in time, but it has gone through its changes. I think if you look at companies around you, and I think a lot of you people today here on the call represent the power of what we call as the micro, small or medium enterprises in India. From my side, I would say that I have been an MSME guy all through, and I truly get the passion with which most of you are sort of, running your businesses or sort of, navigating through the challenges today. So a thing or two about what it takes to survive, really, when you're doing business, and especially if you're doing business in a country like India, which is emerging, rapidly changing. We've just come out of demonetization or GST changes, and now we've got to deal with COVID-19. It is amazing that Microsoft's also survived and sustained for a fairly long time. It is one of the most valuable companies today. And to some extent, the most valuable company continues to have an adolescence because of the cultural changes that I was sort of indicating in the mission statement. How different is Microsoft's hyperscale? I wouldn't call it as big. I would call it as different, because I think when you think about Microsoft, most people think of Microsoft as a company that deals only with big companies. Whereas in reality, if you look at the scale of Microsoft, it is truly hyperscale, because we cater to more than 1 billion customers, 20 million businesses, and 90 plus markets globally. And this is again both in huge enterprises as well as in small and medium businesses, and again also in consumers. So if you think at this point in time, there are more than 500 million users in Azure Active Directory who are using Azure to identify and gain access to an application. For instance, we are a country of more than 1 billion in population. So if you look at the three corners of this slide, 50 plus billion minutes of connections handled each month on communication. So if you are looking for remotely setting up communication strategy for your organization, regardless of whether you are a big company or a small company, Skype or now what we call as Teams is the platform to really look at. And then 1.2 plus billion users, that's almost equivalent to the population of India, using Office 365, which is our emailing platform on cloud. And again, to support all of these operations, you have more than 7 plus billion worldwide queries on the third quadrant, which talks about just the number of customer support issues that we kind of handle in terms of helping our customers, trying to figure how to navigate through any of the problems that they might be facing. So that's how big the hyperscale is. And then, to support that hyperscale, you need a significantly strong infrastructure. These are changes that truly came into play when Satya became the CEO, and we are, the number one company globally when it comes to investments that have been made on data centers. And this is just a graph of how many data center regions we have globally. That's more than any other sort of company that's out there in the data center space. And while that's the global story, we have a very powerful India story. And when I say a powerful India story, it's an invested India story. So while the CEO is Indian, and that's pretty much the trend for most IT companies, I think Microsoft and India have a fairly special relationship where, if you look at Calcutta High Court, last week announced that they have now started dealing with cases on Microsoft Teams. State Bank of India in India uses Microsoft Office 365 for its emailing platform. So all of these are evidences that, pre-COVID-19 crisis or post-COVID-19 crisis, there is a big change that has happened. Two, I think, I said it in the first slide that there is a big change that has happened in Microsoft. For instance, there was a trend where people would know Microsoft as a company that was only engaged in selling licenses. Or for instance, people would know Microsoft as a company that was probably interested only a set of big customers. Whereas with the new CEO coming in, which happened almost 5 years back, and with cloud really becoming pivotal, it's no longer a world of licenses. It's truly a world of understanding what's the pain point that customers have or partners have, and how can we help our customers and partners in terms of making sure that we are able to help land the change, right? This is another important aspect. We are the only cloud company in India to have 3 cloud regions. And how does this help you as a customer? I think the first thing is your data residency, data availability, and your disaster recovery as a service is now totally localized. We were the first to comply with the Government of India localization requirements. This is again a change that is, more from a cultural change that you would think that Microsoft went and made this investment. We continue to amplify the investment with respect to the number of data centers in India to serve customers in India and to give you the assurance that your data is your data. And we have no control on your data beyond a point where you keep it in our data centers and you use it for your own business productivity needs. In terms of, again, thinking about, I can read a few comments related to support is not there. This is a slide that should kind of address in terms of support. This slide talks about SLA coverage than one of the closest competitors that Microsoft operates with in cloud, that is AWS. On our cloud services, if you look at the services that I've listed here, these are each of these services. So think of it this way: if you're using a mobile phone today versus if we were using a mobile phone in the year 2003, 2004, we were using a mobile phone only for SMS and for mobile phone, that is voice communication. Whereas today we use it for a lot of things. We use it for data, we use it for international roaming, we use it for caller tunes, we use it for SMS. And for each of and we in fact also use it for watching Amazon and Amazon Prime and Netflix. Each of these services, you can manage it on your application, really, right? So similarly, when you think about cloud, we have a lot of services. I mean, just to put it in perspective, we have more than 250 services. I've captured about 8 services out of those and put it up here on the slide. So if you look at the first one, Azure App Service, if you're thinking about building your own website and running your own website, Azure App Service is essentially the service that you should be using for building and running your own website. Now, if you read the second line below it, it says 99.95% uptime. 99.95% uptime essentially means 3.5 hours of downtime in a year. So except for 3.5 hours of downtime in a year, your application will be running 100% of the time. And if that doesn't happen, Microsoft again is the only company which says or guarantees a 10% service credit, which means you have a financially backed SLA from Microsoft. The second thing is, if you come back tomorrow to Microsoft and say, listen, the 3.65 hours of downtime doesn't work for me. I need 100% uptime, which means at any point in time, I need my application to keep running because my customers can log in at any time. You can even achieve that. That's the beauty of how a cultural change has come into place at Microsoft, where we provide better SLA coverage than anyone's out there. We've got the biggest infrastructure than anyone's out there. And we've gone and made investments in emerging economies like India to make sure that our customers get the best benefit out of cloud, both from an SLA point of view and from a peace of mind point of view. Again, building into the context, you can build a big house, but at the same time, if you do not have enough security around your house, you do not know who can enter the house and what they can achieve out of that intrusion. Microsoft, again, proudly I say this, has the most amount of certifications than any other cloud provider. Now you will ask, what does this mean? How does this help me? In the time that everything's literally moving in a digital or a work mode, we are extremely vulnerable to cyber attack. For instance, any of you who have been using any of the voice or chat platforms that are available free today, just do a simple search. and you will get a sense of what kind of attacks or what kind of security risks are those customers dealing with. For instance, if it's a free email, you should know if it's free, you're the customer, because the email then is just capturing your data and just making use of that data to eventually make money out of something. So any free product, at the end of the day, you should be mindful of the fact that there is an opportunity through which the application provider is going to monetize. And I should be careful as a business owner, what privileges am I providing to this person whose application I'm using? When it comes to Microsoft, I think we've kept security and privacy at the front end. So for instance, there is something called as Microsoft Cloud Agreement, which a customer signs along with Microsoft directly, although the transaction is through a partner, where the customer clearly gets a sense of what is done with the data. This is all information available in public domain. I'll type in the links and share it with you separately, but there is something called as Azure Trust Center or Microsoft Trust Center, where we've got all the declarations and all the documentations regarding privacy and how we take privacy extremely importantly for customers, not just across the world, but also in India. And that's what I'm trying to explain on this side. So think of it this way: if you're in the travel industry or if you're in the hospital industry, one of the things that is important for you when you're choosing an IT infrastructure is your IT infrastructure compliant? For example, if you're a hospital, your IT infrastructure has to be HIPAA compliant. That's an industry specific certification. Similarly, if you're thinking about, if you have customers in Europe, your IT infrastructure has to have GDPR compliance. So these are important certifications that, provide you peace of mind that your infrastructure is secure. You are totally in control with the privacy and the data of your infrastructure, and you're only using your infrastructure to grow your business or survive through some of these uncertain phases in business that come through. So I'm building the story of one part of the world, which is, where I was talking about building the scale. Second part of the world, in terms of making sure that the scale works for our customers in terms of SLA. And third part of the scale with respect to providing the assurance and peace of mind with respect to security and certification. Now we are living in unprecedented times. So if you look at most of us today, we are working from home. We do not know when we are going to be back to work. But at the same time, when you are facing challenges working from home, you've got to think that there is still tremendous opportunity if we look at this differently. For instance, if you looked at the IMF report that came out yesterday, and they gave the India economy outlook, it said India is going to grow at 1.9%. Each of us will have our own interpretations of whether India will really grow or not this year. But it does say that when you look at FY21, China will be number one with growth of about 9%. India will be at number two at growth of about 8%. In fact, I was also happy to hear the expert from Geeta Gopinath, IMF chief. She said India might actually grow faster than 8%. And just knowing that 44% of our economy depends on agriculture, we still have 300 million plus middle class. The bounce back of this economy is anybody's guess. Having said that, fingers crossed, I hope everybody is going to stay home and stay safe, and we ride through this very quickly. Some of the changes that will happen is, you will see that customers are changing mindset from mobile ready to remote ready, from anytime, anywhere to secure every time, everywhere. For instance, now think of people on this call who are using a Tally application, and your application today is at your premises running on a computer. And now you still continue to invoice some of your customers for some of those pending transactions that you needed to, which you could not due to the shutdown. Or you want to continue your users working on those applications remotely. Then there are clear opportunities that are available. For instance, what we call as Windows Virtual Desktop in Microsoft Azure, where without having to go into office, your employees can log into any device. It could be a tablet, it could be a mobile phone, and access the same applications that are there on the desktop in your office and continue to work. The next question you may ask is, but my employee doesn't have a high bandwidth of connection. That's fine. All that you're using your device for is to exchange information of mouse movements and keystrokes. So your application is still running from a cloud infrastructure with a couple of virtual machines being set up. You're accessing the desktop that was in your office, and you're now in a secure manner entering or authenticating the access of your employees who are sitting at home on their own device. All of this, by the way, is available at less than 1,500 rupees a user a month. So if you are facing a challenge today that your employees need to work from home, you should talk to Sunny on setting up a proof of concept of how do I set up a Windows virtual desktop for a couple of employees, experience it for 10, 15 days, see if it makes sense, and then go ahead and deploy it for your company. Tomorrow, once you start getting back to work, it's your decision whether you want to continue people having access from home. You may want to reduce the capacity from 100% to 80%, 20%, for instance, right? But this is something which is in the spirit of customers moving from mobile ready to remote ready. Similarly, customers moving from anytime, anywhere to secure every time, everywhere. And this is a service that runs as identification, which we call as Azure Active Directory, that unless you authorize a user to access an application, no one can access that application under whatever circumstances. That's the guarantee of security that you get from public cloud. The third change that is again important is when I used to meet customers across country, they say, yes, we need to plan digital. We need to think about how do we transform, how do we live with the change that is happening. Whereas when I talk to customers today, they tell me, listen, digital is the plan. There is no alternative because all my physical infrastructure, one, it has become difficult to manage. Two, why should I manage it? Three, even if I manage it, I'm not able to access it because these, the way life is changing, people just need everything on fingertips and people need it to keep changing at the pace at which world is changing. At the same time, they didn't want to pay a lot of money. By the way, you don't have to pay a lot of money when it comes to cloud. In fact, cloud, for instance, when I was talking about Office 365 at State Bank of India, Office 365 Business Essentials is available at less than 1,200 rupees per annum for any user, which is more than 26 applications. So think of it this way. If you're using any other sort of solution out there for email or for voice calling, what you'll realize is you have to still buy a lot of third-party applications. You still have to invest in a lot of third-party applications. Whereas if you go with Office 365, what you'll realize is Office 365 and the 27 applications cover more than all the scenarios that you're thinking about when it comes to collaboration and working at office. Two, when State Bank of India is using Office 365, when Calcutta High Court is using Office 365, when most of the hospitals in India are using Office 365 and Teams, you can only imagine what it must have taken for Microsoft or the customer there to get convinced that this is the most secure platform that's out there for me to make a decision. And by the way, for you to move from any of the other applications to Office 365 is again, it's simple. Think of it this way, that today you're on this platform, tomorrow you're on the other platform. It's literally as quick. The next question that you might have is, how do people adopt change? Think of it this way. 9 out of 10 of us on this call use Facebook, we use WhatsApp. All the same, buttons, tabs are there on Teams when you look at it and you're like, oh, this is just fairly intuitive to use. So it's a very, different digital plan from where we were earlier. And the other thing that, I hear from customers in terms of changes, customers were thinking about cloud. Whereas right now, cloud is the new normal. So if you think of, how can you make sure that you can access your Tally application from everywhere and every time in a secure way? How can you make sure that you can work with your employees at any location on any device, for instance, in a secure way? Cloud just becomes an important paradigm of your strategy. So if I go back and I say, people will write this, for years to come, we all will know today, we are creating history when we are having this conversation with Rajeev, with Sunny, and with the entire set of people on the call. We're creating history. We are probably, extremely attentive on this call, trying to understand what's this new normal. It's a pivotal moment where a lot of our business models will get changed. But how do you look at the new normal? On my left, there is a black, this is a new normal. On my right, there is a green, the new normal. Now, personally, for me, black is my favorite color. I was wearing a black shirt, and that's just, for me, when I see black, I get a positive feeling. But for many people, green might give a positive feeling. Which one is the new normal really? Personally, to me, it's a perspective. So think of it this way. All of you are businesses. You've got to ride through this difficult phase, but you need to appreciate the fact that you 100% want to come out of this crisis as you are different. You stand out among a crowd and you want to move ahead where the road takes. This is a very important point. We don't know what's going to happen in May. We don't know what's going to happen in June. But we are the micro, small and medium enterprise business in India. We are the ones who control 60% of the employability in India. We've survived more number of shocks than any other country or any other business in that context, because we have always moved ahead where the road takes us. We are the SMB of India. So if you keep that spirit high, really, you can define the new normal as a perspective or as a decision that you need to take. In that context, again, I think, if you look at some of the statistics, and these are statistics, by the way, prior to COVID-19, where we said that the India market was growing really fast on cloud. It was a $2.6 billion market in 2018. It's going to be a $4.3 billion in 2020. My assumption is this is already going to cross more than $5 to $6 billion. I used to say in the second cloud journey is mandatory. Now I say it, cloud has become mandatory, because you can't really be in the business of managing IT, especially when IT doesn't help achieve your objective. You've got to give that responsibility to a trusted, to a secure infrastructure provider. And that could be anyone, for instance. I wouldn't say only look at Microsoft. I would say as a business owner, you've got to do your due diligence. But when you go out there, there is a reason why Microsoft has survived from 1970 to 2020. There is a reason why Microsoft is currently one of the top 3 companies globally. If I look at the Microsoft stock price right now, it continues to grow every day. That's because businesses recognize this is the business where security, trust, transparency is valued. This is the business where customer rights are valued. So think of it this way, cloud has become mandatory, and 93% of Indian companies are still at early stages of maturity. So they're still thinking cloud. And finally, customers need partners more than ever. So if I think of Sunny on this call, his company is the most important alliance that you can form truly, because you are now entering a terrain where you need counsel. And this is a counsel that's not going to cost you. This is a counsel that's going to be built on experience. And I would love to believe Sunny, being part of Foetron, which is a Microsoft partner organization, they also live the mission statement of Microsoft, which is essentially enabling and empowering every organization and every person on this planet to achieve more. So I don't believe in India cloud is growing. I believe it is no longer waiting to explode. It is here. It is the new normal. Now, for a lot of you people on this call, I spoke about Windows Virtual Desktop so that your employees can access applications and access their computers remotely from any device in a secure manner. The other thing that I spoke of is, if you could use Teams, and I'm hoping Sunny would also be providing a demonstration of Teams. So I didn't end up spending time on the product right now, but I want to leave you with 3 approaches. As you're thinking about, as the owner of a business, all of you are brilliant people. At the end of the day, to set up a business in India and to be able to grow that business in India is a big deal. These are the 3 approaches that any business has when it is thinking about cloud. You are either you are running an application in your company and you're planning to run that application on cloud. So you're hosting your application on cloud. That's infrastructure as service. If you have a problem today and you want to solve the problem and there is a software that is available out there, then that is software as a service. That's Office 365. And if you are someone who's developing or building your own application, then it's platform as a service. To break it a little simpler for you, think of it this way. Whoever is not using cloud here, you're sitting on the extreme left. You have an application and the entire infrastructure on which the application runs, right from data to the networking line item here, you are managing it in your own organization. Okay? Infrastructure as a service is when you decide, I don't want to run my application on a server in my company. I want to take the server on cloud. That's infrastructure as a service. Here, what happens is everything with respect to the server, the virtualization, the storage, and the networking is managed by Microsoft. What it does is you don't have to be worried about your data security. In fact, you would be amazed to know that when you store your data on Microsoft Cloud, your data is stored at the same cost in 3 locations in our data center. That's called as locally redundant storage. So that's a big benefit for anyone who is still storing their data on a single hard disk drive. Then if you look at software as a platform as a service, if you're building an application, all you're concerned about is the code, the development. That's the part that you will be managing, while everything else will be managed by Microsoft. And finally, on software as a service, you still own the data, but the application till networking, entire scale resiliency is managed by vendor. So think about the Uber application, Zomato application, Swiggy application, Office 365, Dynamics 365. These are all software as services where all you need to do is tell the problem and get a software that's there out there to solve the problem. The 3 clouds of Microsoft that sit in infrastructure as service, platform as service, and software as service. Office 365, which focuses on employee productivity. So if you want your employees to be productive, starting literally tomorrow, Office 365 is truly the product solution that you should think of. Azure, if you want your business applications and your business data to move to cloud, Azure is a platform that you're thinking of. And if you're thinking about simplifying your customer and your operations efficiency or productivity, that's the platform that you should be looking at. So with that, I'll probably end this part of my conversation. I'm sorry, I had about 20 minutes, but I exceeded my time frame. Having said that, happy to answer any questions that would come up from Rajeev or from Sunny.
So good afternoon, everyone. I'll possibly use a bit of Hindi and if that is fine with you. So जैसे आपने अभी सब input share किए हैं, आपने बहुत challenging times हैं and all these things will happen.
हम सब ने कभी नहीं सोचा था कि इस तरह से कुछ challenges आएंगे और यहाँ से ये लगता है, जैसे विजय ने बोला कि यहाँ से ये लगता है कि business 2.0 शुरू होगा. Business 2.0 के बारे में जब हम बात करते हैं तो हम कुछ चीजों को specifically देखते हैं. कुछ कंट्रीब्यूशन माइक्रोसॉफ्ट की तरफ से और कुछ कंट्रीब्यूशन जो एज ऑर्गेनाइजेशन हम अब देख सकते हैं. सो आई विल वॉक यू थ्रू some of the offers that Microsoft has released for SMBs in India, and there are some other things that we can learn from organizations across the world or industries within India which are transforming themselves. So उसमें transformation के क्या हिस्से हैं, कहाँ से आप transformation के शुरू कर सकते हैं. I'll start with this particular fact that no matter what happens with technology, this is a comic strip from John Klausner that he released. He said there's one side you have all the tools, all the facilities which are there, and on the other side there's human error. As long as there's space for human error, there will be chances that anything and everything can get breached. So you need a lot of automation that will go in future. This was released in 2006. It holds true now and possibly it will hold true for another 20-30 years. And what can we do and what can we learn from all this is what I'll talk about. So first and foremost, why technology is important. So there was a study conducted which said that businesses, and this was done for India, and small and medium scale businesses, it says that 27% of the businesses using cloud and mobile tools will expect a revenue growth. That means 8% organization will see a decline in revenue if they do not adopt to the latest technology. The other best part is that if you have global customers and you want to go global in any which way, there are 65% chances that your access to market will increase by 65% if you use the latest technology and tools. So there are no bigger reasons for us to leverage the technology and whatever is there in the world because it is available at a very cost-effective thing. So what I'm going to refer to is there are 4 specific offers from Microsoft which are there. If you're using Windows 7, you can upgrade to Windows 10 at just 5,990. There's a product that Microsoft is offering which is called Windows 10 E3, which gives you a Windows 10 Pro upgrade free, but it has a lot more features to make your computer secure. If you continue to use Windows 10 E3, then you have to continue to pay this price every year. Otherwise, you can go back to Windows 10 Pro and keep it for life by paying this price. The other is a Surface device, which is a hardware, a tablet, a laptop, or a Pro book, which is there. I'll go back to the slide. Then there are volume licenses. Microsoft till June has released significant offers wherein the price reduction has been offered on all the volume license product that you might be using. And lastly, Office 365 E1 and Teams is free. So Office 365 E1 for any new organization who wants to go to Office 365 is free for 6 months. After this, you can get started at as low as 1,500 rupees a user a year. Teams is free for the entire year that you wish to use it. There's a free version of Teams that you can continue to use it even after that period expires. So Teams will remain free for up to 250 users from next year also. So it is good time to get started on Teams. I'll walk you through some of these features that are there. And I'll start with the fact that how do you start your business transformation? First and foremost, you need a secure email service. I'll give you a couple of examples. If you have an email service in your organization, wherein people can forward emails to any of their account, whether that is a personal account or a customer account, and you don't get to know that, then it is a challenge. Say, for example, I'm an employee in an organization. I end up forwarding the customer data to my personal email ID, or I end up forwarding that data to a competitor out there. Would you be able to monitor it? So that is what I mean by secure email service. The other part is, say I have your username and password. Would I be able to log in on my computer? So imagine if someone steals username and passwords. A lot of people keep, a lot of employee in your organization would keep simple username and passwords, which are prone to hacking or getting stolen. Imagine that bit of risk that might happen in your organization. So this is what I mean by business transformation 1, that you need to protect your email data, not just from insider attacks or threats of data theft, but from external things like phishing, spam, a lot of these emails. You have to secure your email logins as well, because at this particular point of time, hackers are at people looking at dormant accounts, accounts that are not being logged in, or accounts that have very simple passwords. Then it's about creating an email flow within the organization. For example, you have an executive, you have a manager and a director. So executive sends an email which has some critical data. It'll go to their manager for approval. And if manager approves it, then only that email will go out of the organization. That kind of mail flow can be set up on Microsoft Exchange platform, which is there for SMBs. So that is how Microsoft differs themselves from Google in terms of setting up rules or automation in the email flow within your organization. Hence, if you're using Gmail, the only thing that you have is an email service wherein a lot of communication can happen, possibly G Drive, which is there. It is simple to use, but the only thing that it doesn't have the depth of the customization in terms of mail flow within the organization, or detecting what is going out and coming in your organization at the organization level. Now I'll move to another slide, which I'll talk about. So for example, when this work from home scenario would increase, a simple thing is getting signatures on a document. Say, for example, you have a purchase order format or agreements to be signed up. You would need tools like DocuSign, which is a digital signature thing, wherein you can do digital signatures on any piece of document which is shared with you. Imagine such usage of tools. So Microsoft Office 365 is integrated to platforms like PayPal, DocuSign, Trello, all these. So platform is very, very open. You can decide what you want to use it along with that. Now in the stage 2, besides setting up security on your email service, you have to look at the productivity and security combination together. And I'll show you how. So what happens is, as of now, every employee, whenever they use technology, they are just a username and password to that piece of technology, right? And if I use your username and password, this system will treat me as you. So it's just the username and password. So first and foremost thing that you have to do in your organization is secure the identity. So for example, your employees logging in from their personal devices or work devices. You can differentiate between the two. You can differentiate between the access when they use the same username and password at their device at home, or when they are at office using your network to access certain data. This is what is about identity. So if you are able to identify what or make rules, what kind of access do you want to give to a user on their mobile device, or on an organization given computer, or a computer that he personally owns, so it can be differentiated on the same username and password. So that is the second stage that you need to apply. I'll give you one example. So what you can do is, in Office, the user in Office, when they're using your organization's computer, they have right to download any document. But when they're using the same username and password on their mobile device or at their home, they'll not be able to download the documents. They'll only be able to read the documents there. And that will provide you additional amount of security. Now, Microsoft Teams. So what is happening is a lot of us are spending time on emails. And what happens with emails, it becomes a mess over a period of time, that there are too many emails and documents lying on your email systems. And it is very difficult to collaborate and do something. So what Microsoft Teams has done, it has become a workspace hub for organizations, and you can collaborate internally and externally. You have no need to send emails. I'll give you a brief overview on Teams. So when you look into this particular screen, right, it has got everything. So team means that you can create a team by project, or you can create a team external guest with an external guest. Say you created a team with your customer, your partners. So team, once the team is created, they'll have access differentiation. So one team member cannot see the content of the other team member. You can set up that rule. So on the left-hand side, the bar that you have, it shows numerous teams. You will have audio video communication feature built in. You have chat built in. This particular system works on mobile device and computer both. So when you have chat built in, your usage of WhatsApp will be reduced, which means that the risk of employees taking a photograph of your data or some confidential information and sending it on WhatsApp will be reduced. Every document of the organization will be centrally stored. Access will be controlled by you. So say there are 1,000 documents in your organization which is shared across various teams. You will decide which document is accessible to whom. So there's a central search and the e-discovery of all the documents in the organization that are flowing in from one place to another. Also, every team has a concept of channels. Channels like just your television network, Tata Sky, you have news channels, movie channels, and other systems that are in place. On channel, you can differentiate various information. Say you can create a channel for birthdays. So instead of sending birthday wishes on email, you can post it on channel. Everyone can see that. You can have a channel of customer issues. So every customer issue will be posted there. It will be shared there. An employee leaves, you can remove that employee from the team and he'll lose all the data access that he had. If a new employee joins in, you can add that member to a team and then he'll be able to see all the documents. So there's no need for document transfer that might be needed for a new employee. You can just add and remove a person from the team. You can change the team of the employee from one to another as well. So Teams is one such platform that can really transform you, can help you doing work from home. All the employees of Microsoft, and there are more than 44 million users who are using Teams to do work from home at this point of time across the world. So this is one platform to get your work from home started with calls feature, audio, chat, document sharing, channels, content. So there's no need for emails to happen. So that is where it will make you efficient. It will work on a low internet connectivity as well, because you can just do audio calls. Documents will be uploaded once and everyone can see the documents. I'll move on to the third stage. And this includes Surface devices also, which means when you want more efficiency, you can look at these fantastic devices that Microsoft has released, which comes in a laptop, tablet form. It comes with a pen and a touch screen. You can be really optimized with that. On the business transformation phase 3, you'll take security anywhere, anytime, on any device, which means MacBook, Apple phones, Android phones, your Windows devices, non-Windows devices. What will happen is you would want to secure content, which means that any content that is generated within your organization is your property. If that content is copied through a pen drive, hard disk, or uploaded on a Dropbox or a G drive, it will not work anywhere else without your permission. So imagine getting that control. Any content that is generated on a computer in your organization will not open anywhere using pen drive, hard disk transfer, WhatsApp upload, anything. It will not work anywhere else without your permission. So that is the biggest thing, because this will reduce the chances, and as in no one will be able to steal your data and take it away when they leave your organization in any which way. Devices. So people will be able to use your services or the software applications of your company on their devices, and they'll be totally monitored by you. Any activity that they carry will be logged. You'll be able to see it, block it, or you can write policies around it. As I gave you an example, employees logging in from their official email IDs on their personal PC will not be able to download any document on that local computer. At this point of time, you can run a computer on the cloud, which means, say, you can provision, instead of buying a computer or a laptop, you can provision that laptop or a computer on Microsoft Cloud and give access of that computer to your employee, even if they have an Android device or any personal device. They'll be using their device as a dumb terminal to come to this system. So every control will be built into this particular system on cloud directly, which will be under your control. So imagine a computer on cloud, and you can start on this with as low as 2,000 rupees a user a month. And you'll get a computer on cloud with the memory, i5, 8 GB RAM, storage, everything centrally controlled. No data can come out of this computer on a local machine. All data will remain on this machine and under your control only. So this is how a computer on cloud would look like. You can see as an example that Word, PowerPoint, Excel, all application will run. They'll be running through a browser, and the computer will be accessible through a browser. And even if the compute capacity of that connecting device, end user device, that is there, if it is a tablet, it doesn't matter, because the computer is being streamed to that device. So the compute is running on the cloud. So whatever configuration that you buy is what the performance would be. Internet is needed only to see this stuff. It is not needed to process anything. All the files on OneDrive are there. It has to be shared using the same computer on the cloud itself. No file has to be downloaded and uploaded from there. So this is one such offering that you can leverage in the work from home scenario, or your vendors, partners, external consultants that you might hire across the world. You can give them these virtual desktops on cloud and be secure and safe. And while all this is happening, and Vijay has shared the entire story of Microsoft, you might not have heard that Microsoft is the #1 player in security. And I'll give you examples where you can save money. So for example, you use antivirus a lot on your devices. If you have Windows 10 on your device, Microsoft Defender is the best antivirus available. So if you have Windows 10, you do not have to buy an antivirus. And this is not what we are saying. This is AV Test, which is world's best rating website, which rates the thing. And if you look at the score, it is 6.0 out of 6.0, 100% score on security that is there for Microsoft Defender. Not just this, if you look at these Gartner reports, from endpoint protection, Microsoft is at the top, cloud app security, unified management, information archiving, access management. All these technologies that were dominated by either Symantec, McAfee, Trend Micro, Securite, all these things are now dominated by Microsoft. So if you invest in Microsoft, you're getting the best in breed security that is possible across the technology stack. And if you hear all these words like device management, archiving, if you're buying separate applications for DLP, email threat management, email filtering, antivirus, chat meetings, storage, email, or any productivity software, all that is available with the Microsoft in a single bundle, wherein you can save costs. So once you come on this Microsoft platform, you do not have to invest anything to make that device of your employees secure or productive in any which way. Do not invest anywhere else, because everything is bundled in these solutions altogether. And these are not second tier solutions. These are tier 1 grade, enterprise grade solutions which are available. So I'll repeat on what these offers are. If you have a Windows 7 machine, Windows 7 has went out of support. You can upgrade to Windows 10 Pro at just $5,990 one-time fee. But you'll get an additional platform of Windows 10 E3, which is a security platform on top of Windows 10. You'll get a free 1-year usage there. If you want to continue with that, you can pay next year as well. Otherwise, you can take your Windows 10 Pro and keep it for life. That is offer 1. Second offer is on the devices that we showed you. You can get started with those devices at as low as 75,000 rupees. These are SSD devices with very high compute possible. They have a 3-second boot time. So the time that you might end up spending in working with your computer and everything, these are very fast and business grade devices. Volume licenses till 30th of June. Vijay has worked out with his team on certain discounts that are possible for SMBs in the country. I think Vijay would be able to brief it at the end of it as well, that there are great discounts available of up to 15% if you buy the volume licenses till June. And lastly, Office 365 E1. For anyone who wants to try it out, anyone who's on Google or any third-party platform, it is free for 6 months. After that, you can keep it for as low as 1,500 rupees a user a month, which has email, Office Online, OneDrive cloud storage, and the Exchange secure email service bundled with it. Teams is free for everyone. If you are an existing Office 365 user or a new user that you wish to try, Teams is free. Till 30th of June, Foetron is offering free adoption and deployment of Office 365 E1 and Teams in your organization. So if you need any help, do reach out to us in any mode possible. About Foetron, we serve about 950 organizations. We run a platform called Foetron Academy, which has Hindi and English content available on how to use technology in a much better way. This is in form of a 4 to 5 minute video. It will be very easy for your IT people or your team members to adopt and learn about Office features, Teams, Office 365, anything that you can think of on the Microsoft platform to make people effective. So these are free trainings in Hindi and English, and this is customized for Indian audience. You can refer to this Foetron Academy, which has content available on security, productivity, anything that you wish to do in your organization. And that is where I end my presentation. I'll open this to Rajeev, and if there's any recommendation that he has, and there's some questions or anything that Vijay or Manjula would want to add with the Q&A.
Thanks, Sunny. You do have the video to play, which you can play.
Sure.
As the working world changes, the workplace is becoming increasingly flexible. Employees often bring their own devices, and many work remotely. IT needs to create a secure desktop experience so that every employee can be more productive in the way they choose. And virtualization has been a key tool to address these changes. Introducing the best virtual Windows and Office experience delivered on Azure, Windows Virtual Desktop. Provide your users with the only full multi-session Windows 10 experience virtualized in the cloud. It's always up to date and available on the device and platform of their choice. And it's optimized for Office 365 Pro Plus, so you can deliver the most productive experience to your users. Windows Virtual Desktop works with your existing remote desktop services deployments, so you can migrate to the cloud. And with unified management in the Azure portal, you can deploy and scale in minutes. Unlock best-in-class productivity across devices and platforms with Windows Virtual Desktop.
So I was monitoring some of the questions. One was on after-sales service. I saw a few people comment on that. I can only share with this group my personal experience and professional experience. I have my IT team on the call as well. Our experience with Microsoft has truly been outstanding. And it has nothing to do with the number of licenses, because when you call them, you're speaking to random people. So even when I've had issues with my own laptop, it has been really good. And I use Sunny as an organization for all the support to all my licenses, my running it. So Sunny, you can also address the after sales service issue. Someone has asked, can you repeat the OneDrive briefing? So I wasn't sure about that. Are you compatible with Mac? Is it compatible with Mac? Is it possible to invite someone from outside onto the Teams? And then there was a recurring question on the licenses. So maybe we'll come back to the license question later, but about after sales service, there was a clarification required on OneDrive. Are you compatible with Apple devices, and can someone from outside be invited to Teams to join the session?
Even if you have a gmail.com, Hotmail, Outlook, any account that you have, it doesn't matter. Teams is an open platform. You can invite anyone. It adds Teams. Besides this, you can add anyone, like Zoom is there, you can add anyone. But there's a possibility that you can create a secure team with your consistent contacts or persistent conversations that you wish to have. So that can stay there as a closed group as well. So it is open for everyone out there. You can invite guests, and there's two access, guest and this external access which is there.
OneDrive.
I think OneDrive is a very powerful option that's available for Microsoft Cloud users, because think of it this way: you're giving a 1 terabyte hard disk storage to every user on cloud. You don't have to store any information on one device. See, Office 365, you can use it across 5 devices. Now, if you have a 1 terabyte OneDrive for the user can work across devices and their content moves across devices. So it's a huge. Second, on any of the other emailing platforms that you're using, they just give you one storage. So I won't take the name, but most of the names people have taken are common. You don't get more than 30 GB email storage, and that 30 GB is the same for the drive. Whereas here in Microsoft, on the solution that Sunny was mentioning, which is Business Essential less than 1200 rupees, you get 50 GB mailbox storage and 1 terabyte OneDrive storage. So you're able to work with 2 different storages seamlessly, one meant only for mailbox and one meant for all your other data that you're saving on your computer.
Okay, are you compatible with Mac?
In most cases, the application that gets in the released first is on Mac OS platform. In fact, if you look at the latest Mac, I think Osana or Yosemite version operating system that's just been released, it has Office 365 right up front on the App Store.
There's a question on which is better, OneDrive or Dropbox. So I can only say again, I am rolling out the newer version of 365 across the team because I want to be able to have all my team store everything they have in the cloud and not on my office anymore, because this lockout has shown us one thing: we are all sitting at home without 100% of our resources and infrastructure, and that is hurting. Plus it allows me to track it. So personally, I'm using both OneDrive and Dropbox, but Dropbox for me is just a storage site. It doesn't offer me any more functionality than putting my device, my files on the cloud. Vijay, I want to address with you the question of the licenses which has come up and about auditing firms harassing, because I have gone through this myself, not only with Microsoft, but with Adobe and others. And I fill in the forms because we at Creative are 100% license environment across all our softwares. We do not have any pirated softwares in the company because I'm not willing to take the legal risk, and I recommend all my colleagues here to do that as well. But I know many of you software organizations have hired the likes of KPMG, Deloitte, and all to go out and audit. But I also know I am under no legal obligation to provide any of them the information. And if Microsoft wants to ask me directly, only then do I need to provide that information. Do you have anything to comment? Because the questions that came up here are being harassed, which I haven't faced a situation for the last 2-3 years. No one has sent us any messages on that.
So let me give a short and sufficient answer on that one. I think one, license by definition is about lifetime ownership of any product. And I tried to give an explanation in the chat window that in 10 years back, when we looked at the products that were being purchased in the IT industry, specifically from a Microsoft point of view, you can put it into 3 buckets really: your Office software, your Windows operating system, and third is your servers, right? Now, if you look at how Office has transitioned, it's completely migrated to Office 365. In an era where even in India, Microsoft recently released this in the newspaper that more than 60% of our business in India is cloud. So we aren't really dealing in licenses anymore as much as we're dealing on cloud. Second, if you look at the Windows operating system, I think there has been a genuine instance in India in the past where, pirated systems used to be sold. But I think, again, that was an observation of how the buying trend was in the past. And there was a licensing sort of, legacy that was there in that precinct. I also did mention to one of the persons that who said that, there is harassment or something like that. And I said, here's my email address. If you're facing such, any such kind of situation, please drop an email to me directly. That should provide all of you on the call this confidence that what was legacy no longer has place in the world of cloud. Today, the world is so small that if truly you believe a company is actually making money out of harassing you, I don't think the company will even stand an opportunity to serve customers either in India or any other market. Two, I would say you should always buy genuine products. And that's a decision that a business has to make on its own. As Microsoft, at this point in time, we do not engage in any form of audit firm, independently doing audits. That's a practice that's been, I think, stopped almost 3-4 years back. And that was at a time when there was a legacy SAM, problem in India where customers were vulnerable to pirated systems. I think in the new world of cloud, that system doesn't exist anymore. In fact, one of the things that I would want a lot of you people to go back with, 50% of the virtual machines that run on Microsoft Cloud are Linux operating system. 3 years back, who thought Microsoft will actually be the biggest channel partner for Linux operating system? Linux is the competitor of Windows, right? The other thing that I would want to also say, Microsoft and SAP, if you look at it truly, Dynamics is a competitor of SAP, Microsoft Dynamics. Whereas all our ERP systems in Microsoft run on SAP. And the entire SAP organization ERP, they run it on Microsoft Azure. So it's a very different Microsoft from what you have seen in the past. The cloud world is whatever you use, you pay for it. If you own any licenses in the past, you have a benefit because with Microsoft, you can actually get a discount for those licenses. If you don't, doesn't matter because pricing of licensing is always blended price. Okay, so I hope that should provide the assurance and the response that people were looking for. My email address is there. Sunny is there. You should reach out to Sunny or me proactively if you're facing any such situation, and we'll be more than happy to help you. Thank you.
I'm just sharing Sunny's email address on the screen.
So really thanks everyone for joining. It was a really good session where we can also understand what customers are facing in terms of certain issues that they are facing in the market. So we would try to address it as much as possible. You can always reach out to us. We are always there. So as Rajeev was suggesting, if there is going to be a continuous workshops on how to use the tools, we are more than happy to get our technical folks also involved and help you out.
Well, thank you, everybody. So we'll sign off now. If you have any more ideas for more sessions you want to conduct, happy to facilitate that. I'm just doing this simply as an industry player. I truly believe if we all don't survive together, we will sink together. So let's use this time to be productive in our thought process. Thank you for all of those on my private group who have been contributing their content. Thank you again, everybody. So do stay engaged, and you should be getting an automated email from the system with a recording. I switched that on for this. I hope that works. Otherwise, I will have the recording to share with everybody. I have put everyone's email addresses on the screen. Just take a quick picture of it, but we'll share it with you again. Take care. Stay safe. Bye.